What's up everybody, welcome to another episode of the greatest vlog in the world. My name is Jeff, your favorite tour guide in America, and today we are in Newark, New Jersey, exploring yet again the Portuguese communities of America. Are you guys ready? Let's go. To give you a little bit of context on where we are, we're just outside Newark Penn Station, all right? So if you want to get into New York City, or if you want to get from New York City here, it's only like a 20 to 30 minute train ride. So we are real close to New York City. And as soon as you get out of the station, you just cross the road and you're technically in what we call the Ironbound. And it's Ferry Street, starting right here, which is basically like the street of Portugal, of mini Portugal, which we're going to get into right now. Just next to me is the Peter Francisco Park. We've got this monument here, which looks to be Portuguese as well. Looks like the Portuguese Discovery Monument in Lisbon a little bit, right? It's got that kind of thing, but I'm not 100% sure on that. We'll check. But definitely can see avó in there, a little Portuguese avó, a little shut up and eat grandmother. Peter Francisco, as I could see, was born Pedro Francisco from the Azores in 1760. All right, so he lived for about 60 years, died in 1831, and he's a Portuguese-born American patriot. Now, from what I've seen on here, seems to have been some crazy soldier. This guy was shot like various times. He handed off a whole lot of soldiers in one go. He's apparently quite a big man and had the nickname as the Portuguese Hercules, right? So pretty interesting. There's a whole long story here. If you guys are more interested in it, you can check out Peter Francisco. It's actually our first day, our first full day here in Newark, and we're going to be looking through the neighborhood. We're going to try and find some interesting stories, some interesting people. We're gonna see what we're gonna find. We've already got some good plans, so I'm hoping for the best on this one. And yeah, just a little bit of pressure, right? Just a little bit of pressure to do a good job in Newark, just as good as we did in our other Portuguese American neighborhoods. So yeah, let's go. Let's start exploring a little bit of Ferry Street. What do you think, Andre?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. There's even a castle here in the Ironbound, and we're gonna get into also why it's called Ironbound. But this looked like it used to be one really big Portuguese-Spanish kind of outdoor space. And yeah, it's all gone now, it's all finished. But one thing that we've noticed being here as well in the United States is the Portuguese club kind of culture. A lot of the places, they've got these little clubs where everyone goes to on the weekend, and there's a couple here in Newark, and unfortunately, because we are during the week, we're not going to be able to see this kind of thing right now, but maybe in the future, who knows. So yeah, let's go a little bit further in, maybe get a coffee, and we can talk about some things here, how things work out here in Newark.
Let's do it.
There's a bit of a Brazilian influence here, and I thought we've already done so many pastéis nata, and there's a couple more to come in the next video. Next video, we're heading out to New York. So we're here for 2 days. Today is Wednesday, and then tomorrow, Thursday. So like I said, it's a pity we're not here on the weekend, because that's when the clubs, the Portuguese clubs, everyone is there, and we could have met a lot of people there. Of course, we can't do everything, right? If you saw last week's video, then you know Day of Portugal seems to be a very big celebration all over the world, and especially here in the United States. So the one here looked really, really good. These look pretty good. These are pão de queijo, Veronica's favorite, eh? And we're gonna see if the Brazilians make them better here, or the Portuguese. This is in fact Portuguese bakery. We're gonna try it. So babe, I'm sorry, you're not here to eat the pão de queijo. I don't know which one's better. It's very good. The Ironbound is a neighborhood in the city of Newark in Essex County in the US state of New Jersey. It's a large working class, multi-ethnic community covering about 4 square miles, which is about 10 kilometers squared. The name Ironbound comes from the large metal working industry or from the network of railroad tracks that surround the neighborhood. And it says here there's been a big immigration, several waves of immigration. The first wave starting in the 1830s that was German, then later Irish, German, Polish and Italian, and then it says here followed by the Portuguese and Spanish starting in the 1910s. By 1921 there was a large enough Portuguese population to found the Sport Club Portuguese, which is the one we saw, right? Exactly. And again goes back to what I was saying about the clubs, about the Portuguese clubs keeping people together. We've already got 2 or 3 plans today, so let's see how it goes. You ready to make a move for it, Andre?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. When I was doing research before we came out here, I found that Newark was kind of like a central hub for a lot of Portuguese around the whole of America. For instance, we found this news channel that I had already found with the research, like I said, and there's also a newspaper that we're going to try and find later. And luckily for us, we just got here, we knocked on the door, we found this place, we found this amazing man, Luis, and got a great interview out of him for our big project. So that's the first interview in New Jersey. We're very excited. These guys, they got a 24-hour radio in Portuguese. They do transmission across all 50 states, TV and radio. And this man, Luis, was an absolutely fantastic find for us.
Eu sou de Lisboa, nasci em Lisboa, os meus pais são beirões, não tenho irmãos, sou filho único, daí talvez ter procurado alternativas a Portugal por várias razões. O meu avô era padre, o outro avô foi um aventureiro que viajou ilegalmente para os Estados Unidos e esteve exatamente nesta área em 1927, os anos da Grande Depressão. Mas eu talvez tivesse herdado a teologia do meu avô paterno e a aventura do meu avô materno. Na SPT sou diretor de informação há muitos anos, porque consegui acumular a minha atividade jornalística de Portugal com esta aqui nos Estados Unidos através desta estação, que é uma estação que transmite para toda a América do Norte, 49, 50 estados, e que é a maior televisão portuguesa de toda a diáspora. E eu estou muito feliz porque nesta estação é possível levar aos imigrantes que estão espalhados por este país as notícias que lhe interessam na língua materna, em português. Os imigrantes merecem, de facto, uma atenção muito grande. Muitas vezes esquecem-se dos imigrantes em Portugal, não só do ponto de vista político, mas social, económico. Os imigrantes são muito importantes para a economia portuguesa e temos muitos exemplos disso. Temos gente hoje nas comunidades com posições fantásticas, não só na banca, nos serviços, na política. Temos políticos americanos ou luso-americanos de grande influência. Temos profissões como médicos, engenheiros, arquitetos, temos tudo. E isso conseguiu-se através deste grande esforço da língua e tentar preservar a língua e mantê-la, sermos polivalentes, não só no trabalho que fazemos, mas sermos poliglotas também, porque afinal de contas falar várias línguas é de extrema importância. Continuem a falar português, continuem na cultura portuguesa. É tão importante que amanhã vocês, com português e espanhol, conseguem falar também italiano. Portanto, sendo Portugal uma língua que é mais falada propriamente o alemão, o italiano, torna-nos uma comunidade muito interessante e muito importante em termos de negócios e outros. Portanto, é importante preservar a língua. Nós temos no país mais de 20 ou 30 ranchos folclóricos, só aqui em New Jersey temos cerca de 15, e depois temos toda a Nova Inglaterra com muitos mais. São cerca de 150 elementos por cada rancho, que à sexta-feira ensaiam. Agora imaginem bem, nesta área 15 ranchos são 1.800 pessoas que à sexta-feira se reúnem para dançar, para ensaiar as modas e as canções das suas aldeias e vilas em Portugal. Isto tem mantido a língua portuguesa. O futebol também, porque os mais jovens estão ligados de uma forma ou de outra aos grandes clubes portugueses e à seleção nacional. Portanto, a partir daí, juntam-se ao fim de semana nos clubes para saber o resultado das suas equipas, discutirem este lance ou o outro. Isso faz-se em português. E isso, de facto, tem contribuído muito para a evolução da língua e para a preservação da cultura portuguesa nesta terra.
Diga uma coisa, o seu prato favorito português?
Tenho vários. Gosto de bacalhau, não sou grande amante da sardinha assada. Gosto de cozida à portuguesa também. Adoro o prego no prato, o bitoque ou o bife com molho de café. Mas geralmente não sou muito esquisito. Mas não podia viver num sítio onde não houvesse alimentação portuguesa, não podia.
Você disse que foi o primeiro jornalista português, ou o único jornalista português?
O primeiro.
O primeiro a fazer a reportagem dos Torres?
Sim, eu fiz em 91 a primeira reportagem das Torres, foi a primeira equipa de televisão nacional e internacional a chegar ao local onde isso aconteceu. E depois, aqueles 10 anos mais tarde, tivemos o 11 de setembro e fui também o primeiro jornalista a divulgar para Portugal, com o Henrique Garcia em Portugal, para a TVI, a queda das duas torres.
Olha, atenção Henrique, o World Trade Center caiu. Henrique,
Caiu o World Trade Center, exato.
o World Trade Center caiu.
Era o colapso.
Ainda pensámos que pudesse ter sido um acidente. Na segunda já tínhamos a certeza que não foi. E a partir daí tudo mudou neste país. Inclusivamente há um facto muito curioso. Nós, 2 dias depois do 11 de setembro, viajámos, creio que para St. Louis. Eu tive um problema no aeroporto com um funcionário porque eu carregava um cinto de luzes. E ele perguntou-me o que é isso. Eu disse, olha, isto são 5 luzes, não é nenhuma bomba. Ele disse, está preso. Eu digo, preso porquê? Não pode utilizar a palavra bomba no aeroporto. Isto depois do 11 de setembro. Existe alguns receios. Hoje Nova Iorque é uma cidade lindíssima, enorme, mas temos que olhar para o lado, que não sabemos onde é que está o homem com a faca, nem a bomba colocada no automóvel. É triste e é difícil aceitar esta realidade. Mas, felizmente, que não é só nos Estados Unidos. Hoje vive-se esta agressividade social em praticamente todo o mundo. Temos mais cuidado, ou temos que ter mais cuidado, porque o 11 de setembro ditou tudo isto.
We're so grateful that we found such awesome people here. So now it's time to go have some lunch, to hopefully find prospect number 2. Are you hungry? You're always hungry. André's been hungry the whole trip.
Hey, I'm taller than you.
You're taller than me, yeah, you gotta, and younger. Tens de comer, tens de comer para crescer.
É verdade, estou em crescimento.
Yeah, sick of walking.
You're sick of walking already?
Sick of walking. Not everything goes according to plan. We're back on Ferry Street. There was a place that looked like it was a car museum. Actually, one of the girls yesterday had spoken about it, one of the locals. And unfortunately, it's only for private events. Andrea, we're gonna go down the street. So unfortunately, we couldn't see that place because, of course, when we heard car museum, it was like, oh yeah, we of course love our cars, at least I do. So unfortunately, that one didn't work out for us, but this is the next one on the list, which is the Luso-Portuguese newspaper. Luso-American, I keep saying that. Luso-American newspaper, which seems to be just around the corner.
I was born in the US. My father is from Fatima, Portugal. My mother's side is from Madeira on her father's side and the Azores on her mother's side. I was brought up with my father being first generation Portuguese and my mother's already third generation, so I'm fourth generation on her side. But my grandparents, who started the newspaper here, the Portuguese paper in Newark, they were leaders of the community, so we always went to all these different events with the Centro Madeirense or this thing called the Fraternal that my grandfather formed in the 1930s, which was like a fraternal organization, and they would have these events on weekends that we'd go to as kids. So a group of businessmen here in Newark wanted to start a newspaper, but they didn't have the technical skills. They were just businessmen. They didn't know anything about newspapers. So they found out about my grandfather he was in New England, in Massachusetts, and he had a printing press up there, and he was familiar with the newspapers. He worked for American papers here and Portuguese papers, and they brought him or called him down from Massachusetts to Newark to join them. So it stopped for a while, and then it started up again, and my grandfather took it over on his own in the late 30s. It became a paper really not just for our community here, then he expanded it to the different communities throughout the US. That's what made it unique. Almost all of the other papers, even today, are focused just on a certain small, relatively small geographical area. Our paper's different. Our paper really goes out to the communities throughout the US, even Canada, Toronto. We send the paper to Portugal. So it's really spread out throughout the United States. And we have correspondents in different communities throughout the US that give us news from those communities. So it kind of helps tie everybody together. Yeah, nowadays we're trying to keep that going. It's a little harder because there's no real Portuguese immigration per se, coming in for the past 20 years probably. So we're dealing with an aging population. A lot of our readers are older. They want to get the printed copy. The digital doesn't mean too much to them. The Ironbound, where most of the Portuguese are in Newark, used to be very blue-collar, industrial, and probably the worst looking area in Newark. So the Portuguese were, because they were able to afford it and work in factories, and they've made it totally turned around. So now the Ironbound is really the showpiece of Newark. When they go into an area, they definitely try to, they definitely make it better. Not only the neighborhood looking, but socially they try to get involved with clubs and school activities and just make the whole environment and neighborhood much nicer. Each region has their own club. There's like 20 or 30. If they got together, there was attempts to do that, but it'd be kind of like getting Benfica and Sporting to form one team. That's not going to go over too well, We put up a statue here in Newark it took 10 years, back in the 60s and 70s in honor of Peter Francisco.
Yeah, we were there this morning.
Oh, you saw that?
Yes.
Do you know his story? He was from the Azores, from Portugal Day, Terceira in the Azores. Kidnapped when he was 4 or 5 years old by pirates, brought to the United States, dropped off in a port in Virginia. He was like 4 or 5 years old, just by himself, dropped off there. And he was brought in by a wealthy landowner there as like an indentured servant, not really a slave, but someone who didn't speak English. They didn't know where he's from. He had a little bit darker skin because he was Portuguese, he would tan. He wasn't British, didn't speak English. Didn't really know where he was from because he was at the age where he was, didn't really know. He was raised in Virginia and then grew up and joined the Revolutionary War for the United States as a soldier in General Washington's army and became renowned because he got, for some reason, got very large, big size, big guy. And General Washington gave him because he was so good as a soldier on the battlefield, had a sword made just for him, like a 6-foot-long sword, and called him Washington's one-man army. There's some filmmakers, descendants of Peter Francisco, who are trying to make a series on him. Have been trying for several years. They went to Madeira, they went to the Azores, they've been gathering monies to put together a story. It's called Luso, based on Peter Francisco's life.
Your favorite Portuguese food?
Food? Oh wow, bacalhau. Yeah, it's easy.
Is there a specific way you like your bacalhau?
No, except com natas. Anything except the natas. Was that the cream? I'll take it anyway, yeah. There's like 500 different ways or whatever they say. There's those clubs, the Academia de Bacalhau, right? They have those. Great. I'm not a member of one of those, but I understand why people would join that.
When we were planning the trip, I thought doing restaurants and things like this and bakeries and things is just too easy. We've already done so much of it. So we thought, hey, why not go to a barbershop, find a Portuguese barbershop. So on the way to New Jersey, found this guy online and looks like a great story. So this is interview number 3 in New Jersey of today. We've been working hard and we're very thankful that Joe here is going to trim my beard while we get our third interview for the big project. I don't know what to do. What do you guys think I should do? Hey, should I cut the hair? No. Hey, my barber in Madeira would kill me.
So what are we doing, a mohawk then?
No. You can't touch the hair. You can't touch the hair.
All right.
Just the beard. And it's up to you on how much time you have. If you want to just trim it, you can trim it.
Bring it down a little bit. What do you like to kind of fade it in a little bit? Looks like, yeah? Okay, all right.
Cool.
Do that.
Were you born in America already?
No, I was born in Portugal. I came over, I was 9 months old, or more accurately, I was brought over, right?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was still a largely Italian neighborhood. We had a lot of immigrants from Poland and Ireland at the time as well. Portugal, we got here in 1969, and Portuguese immigrants started coming en masse, I would say around the late 70s into the entirety of the 80s. You know, there's a lot of Portuguese clubs now, but we only had the one Portuguese club right around the corner here on Prospect Street, the Luso-Portuguese. And I actually, as a child, danced in the rancho.
Right.
Yeah, for about a year or two, I guess, you know. And then I kind of stopped, I guess, you know, and moved on to other things.
So your father started the business?
My father started the business in 1978, so we are August 1st, we will be completing 46 years in business, yes.
Do you visit Portugal often enough?
I would say on average about every 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
I don't have much family there. All my aunts and uncles on both my mother's and father's side immigrated. My father's side immigrated here to Newark, and my mother's side all immigrated to Canada. I don't know, I think it's up to the parents. You know, I blame myself for not keeping my kids more immersed in the culture and, you know, not teaching them more of the language. You know, I mean, they understand Portuguese. They, you know, speaking Portuguese is, you know, I think a lot of kids from my kids' generation struggle with that. You know, I know they're not alone. And I blame myself and my wife for that. And it's the same thing with the culture. You have to make a concerted effort to keep them immersed in that. Otherwise, you know, they're going to lose it. But, you know, I think every generation struggles with that, right? I mean, you have, you know, Italians, Irish, Polish, you know, everybody has had the same, you know, question as to how to keep their kids more immersed in it. But, you know, listen, in America, you become American, right? My favorite Portuguese food, dobrada. Dobrada, which is an acquired taste. I didn't like it as a kid, but I love it now. I can eat it every day.
It's the same as me, actually.
Yeah, dobrada and arroz de cabidela, in that order.
You wasn't been to the islands, like Azores or Madeira?
No, I really want to go there, and my wife really wants to go there, you know?
Well, when you come over, we'll look after you.
Absolutely.
I got a tour company there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, definitely got to get your information. Okay.
Cheers. All right, we're done. Time now, it's not over yet. It's the last trip, so we got 3 interviews in the bag. Got one more, we got our friend Robert here, who came as a subscriber and a fan, and came out to Madeira with us, did a tour. Rob, can we put the stuff in the back? Thanks. And yeah, we're going out for dinner. So a long day, but hopefully it can be good. Let's go. One of my good friends, Robert, actually told us about David Viana, the chef, David Viana, who seems to be a Portuguese chef here in New Jersey. And he seems to be quite a big deal. And we're at this restaurant, Lita, right? Named after Lita, which is his mother. And I believe that this is going to maybe be the best food that we'll have on the trip. So we've had a look at the menu, and there's some Portuguese influence, Portuguese and Spanish influence. We got some sangria, and we're gonna show you guys some of this food from this chef David, and hopefully we can come back here at some point and have a chat with David for our documentary. Let's see how it goes. I'm excited. Isn't it amazing how life works? right? We found, because of one of our subscribers who did our tours, we found somebody who's Funchal related or Madeira related. You said we it might be Funchal, right? We're not 100, is it Funchal? Funchal related, who's a top chef here in Jersey. And this food is incredible. I got myself some pica-pau, which is a traditional Portuguese dish. We've got, of course, it's a Spanish infusion. So we got some paella. We're gonna try it. Super excited. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna find out more from Chef David's brother, Steve, who's gonna tell us a little bit about the story, about the Madeiran Portuguese story. I'm excited. Madeiran American story. It's been a long day. It's been a long day today.
I'm from the United States. I was born in Elizabeth, and so was my brother. My brother is the executive chef owner of this restaurant, and kind of came out of a fever dream from COVID. He closed down his first restaurant for about a month and a half, beginning of COVID, unsure if he was going to take that small business loan to stay afloat. And he got a little bored and reminiscent of like nostalgic for food that we grew up eating. But you know, my brother being who he is, he always does it his way. And one day he's eating, you know, like carne de porco lanjana, but like at home, and he's like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want to show everybody that Portuguese food is more than just, you know, double starches and like a protein or something, you know, you get in Newark or, you know, elevated like peasant food. He's like, I want to show them the delicate like nature of Portuguese food, the flavors, the ingredients. When they first opened, they all went to Spain and Portugal to see how they're embracing the ingredients and kind of honoring the food so we can do the same here. So it was a good 3 weeks for them to kind of eat and drink their way through, you know, Portugal and Spain. And this is kind of a bit of a full circle for us because this is named after our mother. My mother is born in Angola and my father is born in Madeira. My dad actually went to Angola with the military. He was there for about 20 years, where he actually met my mother. My mother told me a story one night where my uncle woke up the next morning and there's a bullet hole in his bedpost that got like a good foot away from his head. And that's when my grandfather knew, okay, it's time to leave. So they started looking for ways to get out, and the UN started sending out planes, and my father was actually supposed to leave before them. He switched places with his best friend so that he could stay longer with my mother, ensure her safety and make sure they got out. But he ended up leaving 3 days before they did. And in those 3 days, he went to Lisbon and found a hotel, actually an apartment for my mother, my grandfather, all like my grandmother, all the kids, because they're one of four. So it was like 6 people plus my father and another person all in this one apartment for 2 years in Lisbon. And they realized that they were quickly treated as refugees and like second-class citizens there. And it was very hard for them to find jobs and, you know, save up the money they needed to come to the United States. But eventually, you know, they saved up the money they could. My mother had a sponsor who was an aunt of hers in the United States to sponsor them to come over, and that was in '78. It wasn't until I was in middle school that I realized that there was like little pockets of like Portuguese people there, and I had a group of 8 friends, and it wasn't until I think like 8th grade that I actually learned Portuguese myself because my parents sent David and I to Portugal for 4 weeks, and they couldn't get the 4 weeks together themselves, so they sent us with my aunt and uncle for 2 weeks without them. Now, my aunt and uncle speak no English. My family in Portugal spoke no English. So it was either David and I spoke to ourselves or we had to learn. So I got conversationally, you know, fluent in Portuguese. So when I came home and my teacher was kind of reprimanding me in class, I kind of cursed under my breath in Portuguese. And my best friend was sitting next to me. He goes, "Falas português." I'm like, "Falas português," and that was it. You know, me and my friend were inseparable, and then little by little we realized that 4 out of the 8 people that we were friends with were all Portuguese and hiding it because it's in Clark, being brown skin isn't always the easiest. You're a bit of a target, especially when we were growing up. It's a little bit easier now. There's a lot more Portuguese, a lot more Spanish kind of in the community now, but we kind of laid low when like in our earlier years. I feel as though a lot of the younger generations aren't really embracing the heritage and everything else, so they're kind of dwindling a bit. I know the Portuguese club in Elizabeth they're still going, and they still do like club, you know, get-togethers on the weekends, and so, especially in the summer. I know Friday, Saturdays, they have basically they shut down the entire parking lot and they put tables out and they do like, you know, churrascaria. They have like frangos, costelas, sardinhas, you know, fibras. In America, we kind of like to take a little bit from everything and make it our own. Why can't we do that with Portuguese culture? Like, why can't we share it with everybody and show the best parts of what Portuguese people can and do? Especially because, like, you know, with Portugal doing everything with renewable energies and, you know, the progressive policies on drugs and how they, you know, help people, you know, you're not arrested, you're put into rehab. They approach it from more of a humanistic side. Whereas, you know, here, we'll throw you in jail right away.
Have you ever been to Madeira?
Yes, I've been quite a few times. It's actually my favorite place in the world. Funchal is like I would love to retire in Funchal. Like, I just love the people. Everyone's very easygoing. The pace of life is much slower. You know, everyone knows everybody. And one of my favorite memories is David and I staying at our grandmother's house, and we went on a run, and not knowing, we did almost 12 miles because we just went down the hills, like down the entire mountain onto like the pier, all the way up the steps, like this famous club. I'm like, all right, let's go back. And then the last like hill was almost like at a 45-degree incline, and we're racing up this thing. And we finally get to the door of my grandmother's house, and we're both out of breath, red in the face, and just dying. She goes, "What's wrong with you? Are you dying?" Like, she ran inside and grabbed us both water as we down it, and we just standing there, just like, why? Why did we decide to do this today? I actually got this tattoo of birds of paradise in Madeira the last time I went, because I didn't know when we would be able to go back again, because my grandmother had passed and we had sold their house, and we used to always go there. So I wasn't sure when I'd be going back again, so I was like, I need something to remember this by. So I stepped into a tattoo shop, and I was like, in Madeira. Yeah. And I was like, you know, I have all these other tattoos. I want something to remember Madeira by, but kind of fits all the color scheme. And he pulls up a bird of paradise, which I know is all over the island of Madeira, as well as the aloe and all these other tropical plants. I was like, that fits, that's perfect. He's like, all right, come back tomorrow. I was like, I leave tomorrow. He goes, come back in 20 minutes. I'm like, okay.
It's an absolute pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure's on mine.
The restaurant is epic. You know, if you guys are, for all the Americans watching, come out to Jersey. What is the name of this town?
This is Aberdeen.
Aberdeen? Yeah. You got to check out Lita. I know you guys have another 2 restaurants, I think.
Yes.
It is.
So we have Heirloom Kitchen in Old Bridge, about 8 minutes from here. And then we have the Heirloom Kitchen at the St. Laurent in Asbury Park.
Is that also kind of Portuguese?
So they each all have different themes. The one in Old Bridge is more so Mediterranean, Middle Eastern feel. The one in Asbury is like a Southern comfort food, elevated. And then here we focus on the Iberian Peninsula.
Well, next time I'm here, I'm gonna make sure to swing by and start to trying, you know, more American food this time, because all we've been doing is eating Portuguese food.
All right.
And on that bombshell, André,
Let's hit the road.
let's hit the road. Again, thanks, Stephen.
Pleasure was
It's
all
been
mine.
absolutely epic.
Thank you.
And yeah, André, we can finally rest.
Yes.
Hey?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just too much work for Madeira.
No, come on. It's never too much work for a Madeiran, you know.
I think tomorrow we're gonna
We can handle it. We can handle it.
Tomorrow we're gonna look for a bananeira, and we're gonna sleep under the bananeira.
The banana.